the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Greater New York, I stand here heartbroken because I have to hug a father who knows that the murderer of his son will most likely go free, who has to look in the face of a jury that no matter the facts, no matter the expert witnesses, no matter the people yelling on that train that day to let Jordan go, you will kill him. They will not find a white man guilty of killing a black man in modern day America. This is no different than Jim Crow. This looks like a picture out of the picture book when you look at that anonymous jury. We have baby boomers who were there during Jim Crow on this jury. We have young people who are looking at Daniel Penny as a hero. And what America is a hero, a killer. He didn't give a crap about Jordan.
Several days later.
Breaking news. The jury has reached a unanimous verdict in the case of Daniel Penny. He's been found not guilty on the charge of criminally negligent homicide. Now, remember what was at stake here. The jury could not agree on manslaughter. They failed to agree twice. The judge gave them another bite at the apple on this lesser charge, negligent. They now say not guilty. What does this mean? Let's first go to reporter C.B. Cotton, who's outside the courthouse, to find out how this has played out. Now, I hear an immediate melee of protesters, C.B.
Hi, Harris. That's right. Protesters are pretty upset. There's a large crowd of them out here next to me. You can hear them rattling the police barricades, saying no justice, no peace. And what they're yelling now follows a series of threats that they hurled earlier as the defense walked in with their client, Daniel Penny, telling the defense team that Daniel Penny can have no peace here in New York if he's found not guilty on this lesser charge, criminally negligent homicide. And from what I can hear right now, they're repeating those threats. They are very angry. Harris, I also want to mention there were a couple people here this morning to support Daniel Penny, but the anti-Penny crowd far outweighs them, and they seem pretty upset. We're seeing police officers come out here in droves to try to keep the two groups separated for now.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The race hustlers of America are upset today. They're losing their minds because for once in New York, very rare occasion here, the criminal justice system has worked, okay? After they found Daniel Penny not guilty of negligent homicide against Jordan Neely. After the manslaughter charge against Daniel Penny was dismissed last Friday, the jury basically had a weekend to think about it. They came back early this morning and said, you know what? Daniel Penny is not guilty on the charge of negligent homicide. So, BLM, they're currently losing their minds. We're going to react to some of the things that they're saying because they're lashing out due to the fact that they're losing power, right? That's essentially what's happening here, and that's the point of this video. But before we get into it, let's watch a little bit more coverage from Fox News.
But I'm looking at our notes from the courtroom, and it seems like this is the first time we've seen some real emotion from Daniel Penny. His attorneys told me this morning that this trial has understandably taken a toll on him. He's been spending time with family and friends to try to stay calm. And our courtroom reporter telling me for the first time she sees him visibly smile, now hearing that jurors have decided he is not guilty of criminally negligent homicide.
What C.B. Cotton was just reporting there, that emotion also that she talked about, color inside the courtroom, the first time perhaps that Daniel Penny has had any sort of noticeable reaction. And of course, when a jury finds you not guilty, that is very different than being divided and sending this case again potentially for a retrial. This is significant, not just for Daniel Penny, not just for subway riders who may have been on that jury who found a way through all of the legal wranglings, it would seem, by what we know as a soft on crime DA who does not hand out the adjudication evenly, we've seen from Alvin Bragg.
Yeah, this is important, not just for the subway riders of New York City, the citizens of New York City, but for the country, right? This is a hallmark moment for the country. And I'm telling you guys, man, it's almost like magical, right? And think about what an election does, right? The message that it sends in regards to the direction that the country wants to move in, right? After Trump, won, it seems like things are just kind of magically healing themselves, okay? And you have a case here that maybe 4 years ago, hey, Daniel Penny might have been doomed, right? He might have been doomed just like Derek Chauvin, okay? And this didn't go that route, right? He was found not guilty in a trial that was clearly rigged against him because Alvin Bragg, it was going the way that they wanted, right? They wanted a compromised verdict, and this is why they got rid of the manslaughter charge to try to force the jury to say, oh, well, you know what? We should just convict him on the criminally negligent homicide, the lesser charge, just to get him with something, right? Just to say that, hey, we're going to punish the guy. And it didn't work. It didn't work. And now BLM, they're lashing out about this.
Because to be real, they didn't even try. Once the lesser charge was removed, they came back an hour later and said it was deadlock. Less than an hour and 20 minutes later, they said not guilty. These wonderful white people, I hope they celebrate their Christmas while the Neely family is praying and asking God for comfort. God damn them and goddamn America.
Just like everybody else has vigilantes, we need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud.
He was hungry! He was killed for being poor! No justice,
This
no peace! Shame on you! No justice, no peace!
is fucking sick. They don't give a goddamn about us.
BLM had threatened to burn down parts of the city, cars, whatnot. Let's watch. They're angry over Daniel Penny being found not guilty.
To do it for us. And clearly, if we get to this point, it's too late. We have to be there for each other, and that's our call to action. Everybody that's pissed off at this verdict, I challenge you to go outside today and help one person.
Right on.
That's my challenge. If you're angry, if you're hurt, go help one person. That's how we beat the system. That's how we turn this around, by being there for each other.
I just want to say, I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people? What's going to happen to us now? I had enough of this. System is rigged. Come on, people. Let's do something about this.
Let's do something about it. Too often, we have Eric Garner's mother here. There's too often this is happening where we're left alone in this society. We got to stop that. We have to change how we impact each other. Jordan came on that subway car. The first thing he asked for was food, and he was killed. And the person who killed him was not held responsible. We cannot allow this to keep happening.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? The things that those individuals are saying, I think can reasonably be interpreted as potential violent threats, right? I mean, this is basically what is being said. I didn't even play the worst of what they said because, again, I don't want to be platforming that type of rhetoric on my channel. But don't you guys find it interesting how you have so many innocent black people that are killed every single day, okay, by other black folks, illegal immigrants, etc., and nobody gives a damn, right? Nobody cares at all, okay? But yet you have a situation where Jordan Neely was being a threat, so much of a threat that the passengers on that subway thought it was justified what Daniel Penny did. I mean, these people testified in court about what happened, and clearly that swayed the jury in a direction which they felt like, yeah, this was self-defense, right? This guy clearly was a dangerous person. And, again, what I find to be interesting is that now all of a sudden, the family members are coming out and they boohoo whining and crying, which I understand, but it's almost like, where were you before, right? If you were more involved in Jordan's life, then he probably would not have been homeless. He would not have been hungry, right? It's crazy now how all of a sudden when there's money involved, right, there's the prospect of a civil dispute. Oh, now the father cares, right? He cares about his son. And I'm not saying he didn't care about his son before. I'm just saying that based off the fact that Jordan Neely was in that situation in the first place, I have questions about what was your involvement when he was alive, okay? And if you were more involved when he was alive, maybe he would still be alive, right? Again, those are the questions that really should be asked here, right? I mean, these are the same questions I had about George Floyd, right? Each and every last one of these individuals that these people come out here and boohoo, whine, and cry over because of situations that, the victims putting themselves in, for the most part, right, 99% of the time, is always the same thing over and over again. They lived a life of crime. They were in the streets. They were involved in activities they should not have been involved in. And it eventually led to the situation. And now all of a sudden you got the family coming out here crying. And it's like, okay, well, where were you before? Right? Just saying. NAACP says the acquittal of Daniel Penny and the death of Jordan Neely has effectively given license to vigilante justice to be waged on the black community without consequence. It's a painful reminder of the inequities in our justice system. Jordan deserved compassion. Instead, he was met with violence. We stand with his family in calling for accountability. Yeah, so again, you have the NAACP involved. I'm pretty sure Crump will be involved. The ambulance chasers, they'll be out here involved. It is what it is. All I'm saying is that this is a sign that these people are losing power. And this is why they're lashing out to the point where they're essentially calling for violence, because they realize that, hey, we don't have the same clout that we used to have, right? We don't have the same power that we had back in 2020, right? This is why I say, if this was 4 years ago, it's hard for me to see Daniel Penny getting off, right? I really don't see him getting off. But I think the public actually agrees with this. I think the public at large agrees with this because everybody has had to deal with these types of issues, especially in these inner cities where you have these deranged homeless people running around, threatening folks, being agents of chaos. And, hey, in a lot of cases, they are violent, okay? And we all know how violent the subway system has been in New York City. This is why they had to put the National Guard down there, which, by the way, right, if a Republican did that, the liberal media, they'll be boohoo, whining, and crying. But when Democrats use the National Guard on the American people, right, they ain't really got nothing to say about that, right? That's okay. That's totally fine. Yeah. We know how violent it is. We know the type of individuals that people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the people have to have the right to defend themselves. If they don't have the right to defend themselves, then it's going to be hard to have a functioning society. And that's why this case was so important. There was no way that Daniel Penny could have been found guilty without there being severe consequences for the rest of society, right? I mean, that essentially will open up the door to emboldening more of these potentially violent individuals on the subways in these cities to say, hey, you know what? We can threaten people. We can be violent. We can do anything we want. And we can get away with it, right? Because the citizens, their hands are tied when it comes to self-defense. So I'm just saying, I think that this is a hallmark moment here in this country's history. I think once again, it's just another sign that things are changing. I mean, you have corporate America abandoning DEI, right? I mean, I think this election was a referendum on identity politics. Now you have Daniel Penny being acquitted. Yeah, things are changing for the better. And this is why I try to tell you guys about how in politics, the pendulum always swings the other way. And what we're witnessing right now is the pendulum swinging the other way, right? And that's what's happening. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.